And it's a great Saturday morning to be talking hoops here from your sports leader, Sports 1440. I'm Paul Sir, Hoop City with Paul Sir and the great Josh Fenwick. Josh, good morning.
Good morning, Paul. How are we doing today?
We're doing great.
Fantastic.
Lots of hoops to talk about. We have a phenomenal deep dive interview with Ben Golliver from the Washington Post coming at the top of the hour. And we have two special guests in the studio today. We have Brett Jakovic. Brett is the owner of Legacy Athletics, one of the premier basketball facilities here in Edmonton. Brett, good morning.
Good morning, Paul.
Great to have you here. Brett, we'll talk about your background as well. And we have Zane Sweeney as well. Zane is the technical director at Legacy, and you guys do a whole lot more than that. But Zane, good morning.
Good morning to you too.
Oh, it's great to have you guys here. And we'll be incorporating you into our conversation as we get going here this morning. First of all, if you have any comments, questions, etc., please use our text line, 833-401-1440. Again, that is 833-401-1440. Josh, could you give our listeners, I think, a pretty darn interesting poll question?
It would be my genuine pleasure, Paul. All right, who do you think is the best closer in the NBA? Is it SGA, Nikola Jokic, Jalen Brunson, or Luka Doncic? You can vote on that at our Twitter at not at Sports 1440 at Hoop City Show, and then I'll also make sure that's a poll in the YouTube chat where you can find us on at Sports 1440 AM on YouTube. You can come see Paul's lovely, lovely face and our lovely guests.
Yeah, absolutely, and lovely is the word of the morning that suits us just fine. Thank you for that very much. Interesting poll question. Brett and Zane, from the standpoint of there's statistics to back this up on who the best closer is. And I'm not going to share that until the end of the show. But if you had to choose between the four players who are all having phenomenal seasons, of course, the great Canadian defending MVP, NBA champion, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, who hopefully, and I go into this with Ben Golliver later in the show about the restrictive rules now in the NBA about being eligible for postseason awards. Nikola Jokic was having a historic season. Jalen Brunson, they've tailed off a little bit. He's got some injury bugs right now, but the small in stature, large in delivery, Jalen Brunson has been the engine that has fueled the Knicks. They have sputtered lately, but Brunson is still a great closer. And then, of course, Luka Doncic, who leads the NBA in scoring for a team that can't pretty much guard anybody in the Los Angeles Lakers. But if you had to pick from those four, Brett, who would you pick?
I would definitely pick Joker. I think his ability to score at such a efficient rate while being able to impact other players involved in the game, I think just makes him such a valuable asset to their team, especially with the end of the game on the line.
It's kind of like having Fort Knox on your team, like in terms of assets, like you're talking massive assets. However, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but the performance of the Jokic-less Nuggets has been very impressive. Very impressive. Yes. And the emergence of a couple of their players, again, very impressive. Zane, who would you choose as the closer?
Yeah, I think I'm going Jokic as well.
Yeah.
The stats may have changed. Last time I saw, he was shooting 90-something% at the rim in less than 2-foot shots, which is absurd. I mean, that's Wilt Chamberlain. Pass, shoot, low post, threes. When in doubt, like he did to Anthony Davis in the playoffs, he can just throw it up from half court and it'll go in probably. So I think it's tough between him and Shai, but it's got to be Jokic.
Now, do we have a Shai vote from you, Josh, or we've got another young man who just snuck into the studio. Josh, did you let somebody in that we weren't expecting?
Actually, he let himself in. I keep trying to beat him away with a rolled up newspaper, and he just won't go. He just keeps coming back.
He's a tough guy. The way he forced his way in here.
Drop him in a bag with a rock at the bottom, and toss him in the lake. See if he can't come. See if he comes back after that.
He will. I can guarantee that.
It's so hard to disagree with you guys saying Jokic because, in my opinion, he is the best player in the world.
Yep.
But SGA, when you watch him, as much as I end up watching a lot of Thunder games, even though I'm a Raptors fan.
Sure.
He he just finds a way to get to his spots so efficiently and effectively that like and he's nails. He's absolutely nails. When you're second all time and like chasing Wilt for most 20-point performances, and you have to show up for your team in the clutch, I would say SGA, but he's also been in the clutch less. Yeah. So I think maybe I go with you to Jokic. I think that's where I lie. He doesn't have a spot. It's the court.
Yeah,
you know?
And he's getting a lot of reps because his team is not nearly as good.
Yeah, like you guys talk about the Nuggets without Jokic are doing well. These are some grinded out games that they're having. Like, and they're also missing starters left and right. Like they are you should. With Jokic, there's no way that you go to overtime and beat the 76ers by 1 point, you know?
No, you're winning far before that.
Yeah, you win by a billion. But yeah, I don't know. I think Jokic, but I see the argument for SGA, even if I know the numbers either point in him or Jalen Brunson's direction.
Let's bring our other guest in, and I really want an introduction, and also at the end of your opinion, tell everybody about your show on the station.
Well, thank you for having me. Honestly, I love Paul. Every time we talk basketball, it's like such a great honor, obviously, because of everything you have meant to me as a person, just following everything in basketball, Alberta, and playing basketball, being around basketball for such a long time. But to answer the question, I think SGA's nickname should be Thanos. He is inevitable, right? It is tough for him to get stopped at any position where he needs the ball in his hands to be effective. How are we really trying to stop him? I mean, he can get to the foul line at will. He drives the basketball more than anybody else in the NBA. And the team is, rallies around him, and they know where the ball is going. The ball gets there, and he's able to make every play happen on the basketball floor. And yes, we can say the same thing about Nikola Jokic, but it's just different with SGA. I mean, and he's proven to do it in late game situations, but also in late game situations where the game matters, right? He's done it in the playoffs. He's done it in the finals. He's done it in every situation. And I just think that as a closer, you need to be able to dictate pace and get to the free throw line. Nobody does that as well as SGA, right? And and the other name, I think that Jalen Brunson, I think, does have an argument for that, because the three-point shooting late game, I mean, the Knicks with that. Right?
He won the clutch player of the year last year. Was that last year or 2 years ago? Last year. De'Aaron Fox was 2 years ago. The Jerry West Award, whatever that is.
Yeah. So those are great points on SGA. And what we're talking about, I think, is splitting hairs. When you've got great closers like Nikola Jokic, like SGA, like Jalen Brunson, for the reasons you described, it's really rare, I think, in the NBA to have players like this who have ice water in their veins, that on that given team, they are always a threat to find a way to win the game down the stretch. One of the interesting things that is happening now with SGA is more double teams are being thrown at him, and they're trying to get the ball out of his hands to force someone else on OKC to be the finisher. But SGA is so crafty. He's able to split double teams effectively. So a compelling case can be made for him. Personally, I'm a Jokic guy. But that is only we're talking 50-49. Like that's really, really, it's so close. So we look forward to everybody else's opinion on who you think. Yeah. Are we going to favor the Canadian? Are we going to go with the Serbian horseman? Who are we going to go with? Like, it's going to be we do have one American in there in Brunson. So it's really an international group that we have here. In our second segment today, we're going to introduce a new feature. It's called our Community Champions, and it's brought to you by Innovative Benefits. Today, Brett and Zane are our community champions because of all the work that you fellas do in this community, and we'll talk a lot about that in the second segment today. And then at 11, for segments 4 and 5 today, we've got Ben Golliver from the Washington Post. And Ben and I sat down yesterday and had a long discussion in the weeds about all things going on in the NBA, including his midseason award. And I just shared that on X this morning, his article in the Washington Post about his midseason awards choice, and nobody thinks it through better than that. Before we jump into Three from Deep, I've got a contest for people today. Which NBA, here's the question. Which NBA legend do you want to discuss today and why? And we'll discuss that at 10:40 this morning after we talk to Brett and Zane. Which NBA legend do you want to discuss and why? So it can't be somebody that's playing in the league right now. The winner will get a Hoop City t-shirt. And I don't know, I can't see myself, but I've got a Hoop City hoodie on right now. It's a great logo. It's for our 3x3 event. That announcement's going to be coming out soon about when that's happening and where. But I want to give away a Hoop City t-shirt. So you got to text in your suggestion on who you want to 833-401-1440. Again, 833-401-1440. We will get back. Give us your contact info. We'll get back to you, get your size, and make sure I get that out to you next week. So again, which NBA legend do you want to discuss and why? Can't be playing right now. And of course, you can go Michael Jordan. But man, oh man, there are so many great players that have had historical impacts on the game of basketball. So I'm looking for something interesting. I'm not going with MJ. I'll tell you that right now. It won't be MJ.
It's a good call.
So, yeah. So, but I'm interested in who and why. 833-401-1440.
On the topic of the text line, Paul, we got a text in from RC.
Hey, RC.
RC.
On the topic of who's the best closer in the NBA, says Joker. Easy answer. Now getting back to getting the roads cleared. So I just want to say to you, RC, thank you for your service, sir. Removing the snow.
I'll tell you, this is historic. You talk about historic, but historic for all the wrong reasons. And I think that's what we've got. RC, I love it. Thanks for taking a break and sending that in. I really appreciate your opinion. Now get to us on which great player, RC, because we want to get you a t-shirt. You're out there clearing snow. You got to be warm, so we got to get you a t-shirt. So look forward to hearing back from you. All right. I'm going to start with the three from deep. I'm going to talk about some local matchups. Last night's matchups at local post-secondary schools, colleges, and talk about what's going on. There's a real battle on the women's side in the ACAC right now with Kings, Concordia, Augustana, and Nate, all with one, I think. Nate has 2 losses. Everybody else has 1. It's incredibly crowded at the top there. On the men's side, it looks not your alma mater. And by the way, Brett Jakovic was an all-league player, outstanding player, had a great career at Concordia University, Brett. Thunder this year aren't in contention for the top spot, but right now we've got Lakeland, Nate, and Keanu battling it out at 9 and 3. On the women's side, the McEwen women, they struggle. They struggle. They were beaten by a strong University of Calgary Dinos team, and the Pandas drubbed Manitoba last night. That was a big bounce back. But on the men's side, it's big news.
Very exciting.
Big news. David Kapinga of Calgary came up here, a great player at the University of Calgary, came up, and we had David on the show a few weeks ago. He's an extremely well-spoken young man. He's going to do a fantastic job, and that was demonstrated last night as historic upset. Not upset, historic win. That wasn't really an upset. McEwen beat the University of Calgary Dinos, 93-84. That's a big win.
Unbelievable.
And the Bears dropped an 85-79 battle with a very good Manitoba team. Manitoba's tough this year. They're a top 10 team.
Yeah.
They came into town, and sounds like it was a hard-fought game. And you can watch both teams tonight at 3, the women, and 5 p.m. the men at McEwen. Again, they're matched up against the Dinos again. Bears are at 5, Pandas at 5, Bears at 7. But I'm going to go to you on this, Brett. How significant is David's McEwen Griffins win over the University of Calgary in terms of what that can do to help a program become relevant?
Well, David's a great player and a great coach, and I think that just is a testament to the culture and the standards that he's building and bringing to McEwen. I think that game just kind of shows that a lot of the pieces that they've been building over the course of the season came to fruition that night. And it's kind of a statement for them moving forward. So
well put, and I think David's name's going to come up in our next segment when we talk as well.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken. Now, the Raptors had a tough loss last night, and what stood out to me was both teams both teams struggling with injuries, as is really, I think if you, and I talk about this with Ben at the top of the hour, and it's a great discussion about the injury issue and how that's dovetailing into what the NBA is going to have to start thinking about, because they're addressing what I would call surface issues. 65 games to try to reduce down the load management nonsense that we really saw starting to take hold. I think you can credit Popovich mostly for that, with Kawhi and with Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, as they were getting on in years, just sitting guys to rest them. And that became fashionable, as it often does in the NBA. When one guy does something that works, you draft a high school kid, then everybody's drafting high school kids. Draft a European, plays really well, everybody's got Europeans coming in. And for good reason. That really makes light of it. But Raptors had a tough loss. Overall, I think the Raptors are fourth in the East. They've exceeded expectations.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't you say, Zane?
Oh, yeah. I think most people had them as a below 500 team.
Yeah.
And they're blowing through those expectations.
They really are. Now, I'll ask you this, Brett. Basketball guy, basketball player. Do you like watching the Raptors play? Is their style of play enjoyable? What stands out to you about what the Raptors are doing that's leading to their success?
One of the things that I enjoy is, they care about defense and they're gritty. And I think in a lot of NBA games, that's not always shown with a lot of teams. It's refreshing, I would call it, to see a team try and be physical and be aggressive that just isn't seen all that often anymore.
And I'm going to disagree with you on that. I would say in the past, Brett, I agree. That has been a trend, but I think the trend is reversing. And I'm not saying every team is gritty like the Raptors are, because you make a great point. They are gritty. But man, oh man, when you look at like a team like Phoenix and how gritty they are, they get after it. OKC, historic, I would call historic grittiness and defensive schematics. Like they have a blend of effort, talent, schematics, but grittiness as well. When you add all that together with the ability and the depth that a team like OKC has, what I'm seeing, and again, I'm sorry to keep referring to Ben, but we do dive into that. But what I'm seeing is a real reversal of the historic trend in the NBA where regular season teams are taking nights off to a point now where teams are coming to play every night. And it's really fun to watch for regular season basketball. And I think you made a great point. That's one of the reasons the Raptors are fun to watch, just because they get after it every night.
Yeah. And you're right. There are a lot of teams more teams are doing that now, which is what I think is making the NBA overall more exciting and enjoyable to watch.
Well, and I think the last 2 years, we saw that in the NBA, actually throughout the NBA playoffs last year, but the reason I thought a very under-talented, underwhelmingly talented team in the Indiana Pacers were able to get to the NBA Finals and take OKC to 7. Like, that's ridiculous, Josh, to take OKC to 7. Like, especially when you see the Pacers without the great Tyrese Halliburton off for the Achilles injury this year. But when you think about what they were able to accomplish with the kind of personnel they had versus what you would call the thoroughbred stable of talent that OKC had, that really has to come down to grittiness.
Oh, it absolutely does. And also Tyrese Halliburton's a winner. He has that winner's mentality, which is why I'll never forgive the Kings. Sorry to friend of the program, Ryan Reed.
Ryan, we love you. Your devotion is blind, but we love you anyway. So
you have this player who says, I want to spend my entire career as a second-year player. I want to spend my entire career with this franchise. I want to bring a championship, all these things. And then no less than 2 days later, he is shipped off to Indiana for Domantas Sabonis, who is a good player in his own right. But Tyrese Halliburton went to an NBA Finals now. It's and then they kept De'Aaron Fox and then traded him away. This is a guy who just wants to win and will do anything. And you saw it in the playoffs. Every game, you saw those tweets or whatever, was oh, this was the final score, or this was the score with 5 minutes left. Somehow the Pacers won this game. He's putting shots in off the back iron. If he was playing this year, I think he'd be the closer of the year, just because I would not be able to get their playoff run out of my mind.
That was one of the great runs that you've ever seen in NBA history. Before we go to break, Brett, Josh was just mentioning about he wants to win. Of course, we assume and know that most NBA players, I wouldn't say all, but most NBA players, winning is everything to them. Like, that's really what they want. But there's that elusive thing called being a winner or being part of a winning culture. Now, you as a player, you had some really good teams at Concordia. You are, heavily immersed in the coaching world now. What does it take in your mind? Give me a nuance. Give me an intangible that you need to have to create what you would call a winning culture.
I think one of the biggest things is just the overall buy-in. But I think that the buy-in has to come from top down, which is why players like SGA and Halliburton, they're able to change programs. And even circling back to someone like David Kapinga, they instill a buy-in.
David was part of that UFC national championship team, wasn't
indeed,
he?
yeah.
Yes.
And it's being able to have a collective buy-in. Everybody has, their own personal agendas, and everybody does want to win, but everybody wants to win on their own account a lot of times or in their own way. Having everybody rowing in the same direction, I think, is a leadership skill that the great ones have, and the teams that have the most success has someone in their roster that is instilling that in others.
Well put, and an important component of that. So we're going to take a break right now. You're listening to Hoop City with Paul Sir, along with Josh Fenwick. Of course, we have Brett and Zane in the studio with us today. And when we come back, we're going to do our Community Champions segment here on this beautiful Saturday morning, Talking Hoops, Sports 1440. Oh, and by the way, Josh, before I get going, have we got any veterans, any NBA players yet?
Mm-hmm. People want to hear about Iron, specifically wants to hear about Wilt the Stilt. And I know that's a place that hits home for you, seeing how you got to watch him play. And then
Thanks
Blair,
for telling everybody.
Yeah,
that,
well, and then
That's
Blair
great.
texting in that they want to talk about Earl Boykins.
Oh, man.
What a pull.
Oh, man.
What a pull.
Oh, boy. Wilt to Boykins, who was 5'7", I think. So, yeah, that's a great start. Thanks, guys. Again, 833-401-1440. We're going to pick one player. Whoever suggested that player that we talk about, you're going to get a Hoop City t-shirt. So make sure you let us know how we can get in touch with you. I'm going to introduce our Community Champions segment here. The Community Champions is sponsored by Innovative Benefits. Is it time to review your group benefits insurance program or retirement plan? If so, talk to Randy and his team at Innovative Benefits to get your best options with straightforward, honest advice to prepare you and your family for your future. Go to innovativebenefits.ca and set your sights on success. I've introduced these guys. They were good enough to come in early today and do our opening segment 3 from Deep with us. Brett Jakubek, the owner of Legacy Athletics, and Zane Sweeney, the technical director from Legacy Athletics, join us today as our community champion. And the purpose of this, guys, is because we want to recognize people in our community that are truly making a difference and are truly putting their money where their mouth is, literally, I know, because of what you've invested in, Brett and Zane, but also walking the walk. You hear so often in sports, we're doing it for the kids. Well, yeah, maybe. But will you really, when people stand out that they really are walking the walk, I want to be able to talk to them on this show, and you guys certainly do that. So I'm going to start with you, Brett. Talk about your background. You're from a small town. You came to Concordia, played your entire career there. Talk about where your love of basketball comes from.
Yeah, so like you said, I grew up in Viking, which I think is predominantly a hockey town.
Rumor has it, yes. Quite a hockey town.
Yeah, I got my love for the game from my dad, Larry, who played college basketball as well down in Olds. Just being able to watch him go to a gym where he played and experience how he enjoyed the game of basketball, playing with his friends, that community aspect of people coming and supporting. I remember being 6, 7 years old, playing in the gym storage room while my dad was playing basketball. And then when they had the timeouts and the breaks, being able to go on the court and play is where it all kind of came together. And I think when we built Legacy, it was always trying to recreate that kind of experience for people where friends and family can all come together and use sports as the catalyst for being connected. Growing up in Viking, I ended up getting, like you said, an opportunity to play at Concordia. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that I had to ask for a redshirt position to even make that team. That team was loaded at the first off, and I had to earn my licks and work really hard to get that opportunity to get on the floor. And I'm very blessed and thankful to have the ability to kind of get on the court and help our team win when the opportunities presented itself.
Well, I know Coach Reagan Wood was thrilled that you did do what a lot of people aren't willing to do, which is to pay their dues. That's a topic for another time, because I think one of the trends in youth sport right now is not being willing to put the hard work at times, or not being encouraged by the adults and the leaders to put your work in to get to earn your keep, as opposed to just switching teams. So good on you, and congratulations on an outstanding career as a member of the Thunder team under Coach Reagan Wood. And Zane, Brett used the word connection. Your connection comes from Concordia as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty similar story, just not good at basketball. I came from a small town as well, out of BC. My good friend made the team. I went to school as well, and I was just hanging around enough that Reagan eventually said, "Hey, you want to wash the jerseys and pick the balls up after practice?" And I became the manager.
So that is why you came to Concordia, is because a friend of yours made the team?
Yeah.
Really?
I was originally going to Lethbridge, and he was as well. He got an offer from Reagan, and I said, what's the difference between Lethbridge and Edmonton? Why, I'm already leaving home. Why not win?
Yes.
I was like, I may as well go north. So I went north, and which was a great choice. Changed my life, obviously.
Absolutely.
And but yeah, it was completely just a random decision.
So organic, you guys became friends.
Yep.
Talk about legacy. Well, first of all, I believe you met your wife at Concordia, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, I knew her beforehand. We were high school sweethearts. She was in Sherwood Park and I was in Viking, and we met through club basketball in the spring and summer.
Okay. That's a great story.
But she ironically actually went to McEwen first of all for her first year of school, and then transferred to Concordia with me. But yeah, how Legacy kind of came to fruition is I was going to Concordia to get my education degree. So I got my education degree, and I was going through being a teacher. And the first year after graduation, the pandemic hit, where we were teaching from home and doing, all the things that you did during the COVID pandemic. And what kind of came about was a lot of free time to research and find ways to help the community. Being in the school system, I knew that schools were going to be shut down for an extended period of time that was going to impact all of these community groups that relied on it. The EYBAs, the different groups that put all their time and effort into making sure that kids have a place to be safe and a place for kids to be active. And without the school system in place to support that, they were kind of left with nowhere to go, which is where the idea of opening up Legacy as a facility that can house those kind of community groups came to fruition.
So you opened your first Legacy facility, not that far from the EYBA Center, as I recall.
Yeah.
And then you made the decision to grow, to expand. And you changed locations, as I recall. Zane, you guys were you were in transition for a number of months before you went
Yeah.
from your original location to your new location.
Yeah, we had a secondary location that was basically signed, sealed, and delivered that we were moving to before we kind of got rug pulled by the landlord there. So we completely had to blow it up, and we were homeless there for about 6 months or so before we had to scramble and find the new location that we're at now.
Interesting. Yeah. There's never any, unless you've done this, you don't know what it can be like, and I can only imagine the kind of stress and the kind of pressure that you felt. But you've landed not just on your feet, but I think it's safe to say you've landed in landed and expanded. That's not bad. Landed and expanded.
I like that.
Both in terms of the physical size, Brett, of what you offer, but also in terms of the programming that you offer. And let's start with the older age groups first. Let's talk about the leagues that you have at Legacy.
Yeah, so we run our own men's leagues. One is called Legacy Athletics, the Legacy League at Legacy Athletics, and that is a league primarily for college alumni and ex-pro basketball players to play competitive basketball in our city again. Where you build that community around sport and competition. And then we have a recreational side that is called the Union League, where if you weren't a professional basketball player and you still want to play competitive basketball and have a good time with friends, that's the league to be in.
Okay. Now, do you have a women's league as well at the present time, or is that on the horizon? What are your plans for that?
That is definitely on the horizon that we're building as we speak.
Okay, fantastic. So, Zane, along with the adult leagues that Brett just laid out, you also have a variety of programs.
Oh, yeah, from 4 years old to 17. We have
You haven't started the prenatal program yet, have
No,
you?
not yet, but
first
it's
in
coming.
Canada. So
Yeah, first, exactly. First in North America.
they can at least be listening to basketball games. You just,
That's right.
Yeah, okay,
and hopefully
right.
they tune into the basketball show as well, of course.
Absolutely, yes. Put the headsets on the
That's
tummy,
right.
Mom. Let's go.
But yeah, we have little legacies for young kids run by Jesse Bell, and then we have the EYBA development program that's obviously in partnership with EYBA and EYBA Elite for kids that have never touched a ball before, all the way to kids that are looking to take it as far as it'll go, and then of course we have our club side as well.
Talk about your club side. You're in a very interesting. You've done a lot with club basketball. And the club basketball scene in Edmonton has grown a lot.
Yeah.
Talk about club basketball, Brett, and how important that is at Legacy, but not just at Legacy, but in the city and the province.
Yeah, I think basketball is such a growing popular sport, and a lot of people have dreams and aspirations through sport to get to all aspects of their life, whether it's schooling or anything of that sort. Club basketball is one of the catalysts that can help kids get there through additional training and competition that just gives kids that avenue to kind of try and go after their dreams and their goals. We just want to help be a part of that journey along the way.
So Zane, how much, in your opinion, this is a little bit on a tangent, but how much, in your opinion, is the importance of the club basketball experience for the young athlete, boy or girl, in terms of their personal development along with their basketball development?
Yeah, I think you put it very astutely there that it's personal development first. At least that's like our viewpoint.
And what is that to you?
It's becoming a better person at the end of the day, right? Through that, you get better at basketball. Yes, maybe you can dunk or shoot threes better by the end of the season, hopefully. But it's really about being the best version of yourself and letting that translate to athletics, your schoolwork, your community work, your friendships, your relationships, whatever it might be. So I think we're trying to focus more on the human that holds the basketball versus, the athlete that holds the basketball, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. You're listening to Hoop City with Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick here on Sports 1440, your sports leader in Edmonton. So Brett and Zane and folks, when I talk about community champions, I mean that really sincerely. about people walking the walk, because these guys don't just show up, run a facility, run leagues, run camps, clinics, clubs. You're also both part of the Alberta basketball provincial team program as well. And Brett, you just on this past Sunday were selected to the board of directors for the Alberta Basketball Association. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
But what motivated you both to get involved? And I'll start with you, Brett, in the provincial team basketball, to be part of the provincial team basketball experience.
Well, obviously, I think the Alberta Basketball Association's Team Alberta is one of the highest forms of basketball that an athlete can play in our province. And I want to just learn from the people that are developing and building those pathways for kids. I am the associate coach right now, where
for U17?
For U17 boys, yeah.
Okay.
And I want to learn and I want to grow. I think basketball is, it can never stop. I think it's always evolving, and I think us as coaches and as community initiators, we have to grow as well with the game. And that's one of the aspects that I want to be a part of when I'm a part of that provincial team.
Awesome. And how about yourself, Zane?
Coaching development.
U15?
I'm actually the assistant on the U17 as well.
Okay,
So Brett
all right.
and I are on the same
so you're
squad
on the
there
same staff.
with Mike
Okay.
Shalas and Johnny Verone.
Okay.
I
love the name Johnny Verone, by the
it's
way.
an
That should be a
excellent-
movie.
Oh, my
Johnny
Lord.
Verone.
I mean, it's a New York
I can see
gangster
the
flick.
poster, the fedora.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
so continue.
I'm not from Alberta like Brett, but I've lived here long enough. This is my second home essentially, and I have a lot of pride in that. And I want to continue to grow Alberta basketball. We're obviously growing pretty rapidly in the last decade, if not half decade. Obviously, with Team Alberta going out and winning some golds and some bronze
Defending
last
gold
year.
medalists, yep,
Exactly.
fantastic.
So I want to follow in the footsteps of that pedigree, and of course, my mentor Reagan Wood was with them, and obviously still with Alberta basketball to this day. So, I think we're just both trying to grow the game and hopefully keep the medals rolling in.
And for me, it's always been the medals are great. They're icing on the cake.
Yeah.
But the experience, the growth, the synergies, those are the most important things. And you guys are both integral part of all of the basketball, what I would call the entire basketball ecosystem. Thank you so much for your work, first and foremost. Secondly, thank you for joining us today as our community champions, and I wish you all success with everything going on at Legacy, everything going on with your clubs, all your programs, and thanks for all that you give to the basketball community.
And thank you for having us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Brett Jakovic. Oh, but before we go, Brett Jakovic, Zane Sweeney, what's your website that people can go to for information on Legacy?
LegacyAthletics.ca.
Simple as can be. LegacyAthletics.ca. Go there, find out. You're going to get great. Your kids are going to get great programming. They're going to get great coaching. They're going to get great mentoring for all the life skills as well as basketball skills. We're going to take a break right now. Our next segment, we're going to dive into the player that we were talking about, the fellow that we'll have to make our choice, a tough choice on the NBA legend that we're going to talk about, give away our T-shirt. We're also going to talk about the history, some history as well about some of the big numbers that players have scored in the month of January in NBA history. You're listening to Hoop City with Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick here on your sports leader, Sports 1440. I couldn't decide, Josh, whether I needed to put my headset on or not, but I'm going to go headsetless right now. So, Josh, let's go through our list of great players from the history of the NBA, and then we're going to make a selection.
All right, from the text line. We only had the two. Guys, get your texts in before the end of this segment. You could still win this T-shirt that Paul wants to give away. We have Earl Boykins, insane Paul, and Wilt the Stilt.
I love that. Now, we also had Jason Kidd, the glove.
That's right. We had Jason Kidd in the glove from
Gary Payton, Akeem Olajuwon as well. But you know what? I'm going to go with, for this one, I'm going to go, and the reason I'm going to do this is just because I think in terms of basketball history, for the first time we're going to do this, and we hope to do this every week, but I really need to talk about Wilt Chamberlain. And the reason I want to talk about Wilt Chamberlain, so I'm glad that Wilt was suggested, because, you know, I think it's important to frame Wilt for all that he did to change the game. And all that he did statistically at the time in the game, like absurd statistics. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So who is our winner on the Wilt to Stilt, on Wilt Chamberlain?
Our winner for that one. Oh, hold on. Carrie D getting in late here. You might want to change your selection.
Okay.
Magic Johnson. Irvin Magic Johnson.
Love Irvin Magic Johnson. I have no doubt, Carrie D, that Irvin Magic Johnson will be the player that we talk about, not a little bit down the road, but I'm still going to go with Wilt, because I'm going to go real old school on this one, because of the essence of the game of basketball today. There's a Mount Rushmore of which Wilt is on, along with several other players too that have had such an impact on the game of basketball, literally changing the game from what it was to what it was becoming. Like, we're essential in its evolution. And Wilt was certainly one of those players. It's so we're going to go with Wilt today. But I thank I thank the entries that we had, and I hope we'll have a more robust reply in the future as well. But for those who are the pioneers in bringing this together, thank you very much. And by the way, Earl Boykins, that's a great suggestion. I just can't supersede Wilt today. So who's our winner?
Our winner is Iron. So, Iron, I'll be texting you. I'll get your email, name, and I don't know what else you need from me.
What I'd like to get is your address, because what I'd like to do is I'll mail out the T-shirt. I also need your shirt size as well for the T-shirt. And so I'll be mailing that out to you early next week. So congratulations, Iron. But let's talk about Wilt. Let's talk about Wilt Chamberlain. I think most people that are familiar with basketball certainly know the name Wilt Chamberlain. And I'll start with where Wilt was criticized, and I think this is really fascinating, Josh, is that when you look at the numbers, the absurd numbers that Wilt put up early, particularly early in his career, Wilt was criticized for not winning more championships. And, of course, Wilt was playing during the Bill Russell Boston Celtic era. And the Celtics at that time won 9 out of 11 championships with Bill Russell over the course of their career. It was an incredible run. During that time period, Wilt won with the Philadelphia Warriors in 1967. They won the championship. He, along with Billy Cunningham, the great Hal Greer, dethroned the Celtics, the annual powerhouse Celtics, in a very, very tough, hard-fought series, and went on to win. And then Wilt again won in 1972 with the Los Angeles Lakers, with the great Jerry West, Gail Goodrich, Elgin Baylor. Poor Elgin Baylor. He had a phenomenal career, one of the great careers of all time, but was never able to overcome the Boston Celtics and win an NBA championship in the year he retired. Wilt and West led the Lakers to an NBA championship. They won 33 in a row that year with Wilt. But I'm going to talk about how he impacted the game. Remember, Wilt was 7'1". Wilt had rumored to be somewhere between a 42 and a 48-inch vertical jump. He was a high jumper. He was a sprinter. He was a great volleyball player. Wilt was an athlete way ahead of his time. And I mean, like, strikingly ahead of his time. And I'm going to use a personal example on why Wilt did what he did. Of course, when Wilt played, the talent level in the NBA is nothing like it is today. It's just the evolution of the sport, as it is with all sports. So Wilt, all of a sudden, it was like you took a 2026 athlete and injected him into the 1950s NBA. So Wilt was so physically superior to people, but what you can't underestimate is, in spite of that, Wilt had to do what he did night after night, playing unbelievable amounts of minutes. In 1962, I want to give you his stats, Josh. He played 48.5 minutes per game for the season in Chuck Taylor's. 48.5. He played, because of the overtime games they played, he played every minute virtually of every game, to the absurd point where he averaged 48.5, and he played in every game. And that seems unimaginable in today's NBA when the injury bug is such a topic of discussion. That's number one. He averaged 50.4 points per game that year. And of course, you can look again at the talent level. I played at a small high school in Iowa, Cresco Notre Dame. My school had 150 kids or so in grades 9 through 12, and my particular class had 57. So we had over a quarter. We had a third of the students in this very small Catholic school, and my senior year in high school, I averaged 31 points and 22 rebounds a game. Those are Wilt-like numbers, but a lot of it was because I was playing in a single-A school, small country school. It is very common for players like Brett Jakovic, who was just here. I think of Vern Gerhardt, the great Vern Gerhardt, played at the University of Alberta, and McEwen, who played at Kelmar. I think Vern averaged about 45 to 50 points a game. When you're a good player, playing against competition that just isn't up to your abilities, you're going to have garish numbers. And I think certainly you can equate that with Wilt Chamberlain as being one of the reasons why he was able to be so dominant at that time. But the thing I can't emphasize enough is the reason we have the wide key is Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt took the wide key. They had to widen the key just to get Wilt out of the key. The 3-second rule is because of Wilt Chamberlain. He changed so many rules. Goaltending, Wilt Chamberlain. They didn't record block shots back then. I can't even imagine. I would imagine Wilt averaged 6 to 10 block shots a game in his prime in that league. His contribution was just incredible. Of course, his off-the-court personality was quite flamboyant. He was a very, very colorful individual. After his playing career, he went on to coach a bit. He went on to play professional volleyball. He died far too young. Nobody really knows what his cause of death was, but Wilt was in his early 60s when he passed away. But very colorful personality, absolutely changed the way we see and perceive the game, and my hat is tipped to Wilt Chamberlain. I am fortunate enough to be at the age I'm at. On Sunday afternoons on the one NBA game that was on every week, Josh, I was able to watch Wilt and Bill Russell square up many, many times, and it's a phenomenal memory for me, and I guess I really understand and appreciate the impact of a Wilt Chamberlain on today and how he's defined the game of basketball.
Yeah, no doubt. There is that famous rumor of Wilt, not the 100-point game, that he had a game where he scored 50 points, had like 40 rebounds, 27 assists, 23 blocks, and 19 steals or whatever. But they weren't recording it at the time. So
yeah, and in fact, I think there's a small snippet of video of the 100-point game that he had. There's the famous photo of Wilt holding up just a plain piece of regular notebook paper that with the number 100 scribbled on it. You just didn't have, obviously, anything resembling the kind of media coverage that you have today. But you're absolutely. I think he had that. What do you call when you have 5 doubles?
That must be a pentuple double.
Something. Yeah, I forget the term exactly, but I'm sure Wilt had more than one of those. And Wilt Chamberlain. What a part of NBA's colorful, glorious history. I'm going to talk a little bit more history right now before we go to break and bring Ben Golliver in, because January is a very interesting month. I want to talk about some of the big numbers in January, and Raptors fans will remember the first one. Josh, you were too young to remember it.
I went back and watched this game, I tell you what.
Kobe's 81 against the Raptors. That's the closest to Wilt's 100-point game that has ever had by somebody not named Wilt Chamberlain.
Ludicrous. During the pandemic, like Brett was talking about, the NBA, they were playing old games that they had archive footage of on their YouTube channel because no NBA could be played. And so
Right.
I remember sitting down to watch the Kobe 81 game that they were airing that night because I was like, I gotta watch this. I can't believe how bad Jalen Rose got just like torn apart that game.
He's
Like,
humiliated.
it was
Absolutely
so bad.
Because that was Kobe at his very peak. Obviously, I mean, he scored 81 points. Although I think his final game he had like 60, but he took 60 shots or some ridiculous stat like that. But yeah, Kobe's 81, remarkable accomplishment. But guess who is next in terms of January scoring? And he's playing today.
LeBron James.
Luka
Wow.
Doncic, 73 against the Atlanta Hawks. Michael Jordan had 64 against Shaq's Magic. Imagine that. So some great high-scoring games in the NBA in the month of January. Memorable performances. And I always think it's interesting because when you have a special game like that, sometimes you're going to get the critics that are going to come out and say, yeah, he had a special game, but, he took all the shots. I was at a function recently where a former college coach was excited because he had a player on his team that scored, I believe it was in the ACAC, but he scored some ridiculous amount. It was like 65 or 70 points. And then he was criticized by some of the other folks that were there because, like, I would never want to see somebody on my team score that many points. That means nobody else is getting involved. My response to that is that to heck with you. That was a special night for that one player, and that gives you something really special to talk about. And Kobe's 81, that a phenomenal accomplishment. What a legacy of the far, far too soon departed great Kobe Bryant. We're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, I'm excited for you to be able to listen to the deep dive with Ben Golliver from the Washington Post. Ben and I, as I mentioned earlier in the show, sat down and talked yesterday at length about all that's going on in the NBA. Nobody does it better. You're going to be smarter for it. Like I say in our social media posts, your basketball IQ is going to go up or your money back. So glad you're with us on this Saturday morning here on Hoop City with Paul Sir, along with Josh Fenwick on your sports leader, Sports 1440.